Good afternoon, Todd. If you'll just introduce yourself, I'm sure everyone is very familiar with you, but if you'll introduce yourself and tell us how long you've been in this position.
So, Todd Higdon, Chairman, Madison County. Been in this position. I'm on my fifth year. I still got 3 more years in this term. Um, 8 years city mayor, so 13 years in government altogether.
Awesome.
So yeah.
All right.
Thank you for this.
You're
I think
welcome.
this is an added asset for the chamber to be able to connect with the citizens, and I love this. If you want to do this more often, we'll do it quarterly. I don't care. I
Yeah,
think it's a good way so people can understand what happens in under this
that's
green
right.
roof.
That's right. And
So thank you.
exactly. Exactly. Well, thank you so much for spending time with us this afternoon. So what we're going to do is we're going to just have some questions that our government affairs team has
Sure.
put together. That committee is made up of all sorts of folks, and they kind of polled some of their circle of influence and got these questions together. We're going to start with one of my favorites, and this isn't necessarily a economic or business impact question, but this one to me is, I think, something that everybody's kind of curious about. So, what are the current plans for the historic courthouse, including its preservation, renovation, future use? We get questions at the chamber all the time about that building and ask, is it open for tours? Is it available to host events and things like that? People just want to know what's going on inside that building. So share a little bit about that.
Yeah. So the board of commissioners took it up about 3 years ago that we need to do something with it. Beautification, putting the trees out, the sodded yards, trying to make the building look better. But went a little bit deeper. There was some structural problems with it, so we've done an RFP. We got some companies to come in and bid, take a look at it. So we've done a structural engineering composition of what we actually have today and what kind of shape it's in. So we've been able to take that and then turn around and go after grants with that. That was one of the first steps in the grants is trying to figure out, you can ask for certain dollars, but you don't know how far those dollars are going to go. But once you have your structural to see how sound the building is, now you know how you can deflect those dollars to be able to ask for those grants. So we've got several grant applications out there now. We're waiting on getting those back, and we hope to be able to turn the lights on and put some staff back in it, free up some, because we're running out of space in this building. A lot of it due to the court system, so we need to move some of the non-heavy traffic offices over to that because parking's a little bit of an issue, but we do want to utilize that.
Mm-hmm. Is there any hopes to use the upstairs courtroom portion? I know it's not handicap accessible. That is one of the ongoing challenges with a lot of these historic buildings. But is there any plans for renovation of that particular piece of the space so that people can sort of be able to appreciate it and visit there again?
Yeah, we had talked about that. We, as a couple of us commissioners, walked through that building. We were just randomly spitballing thoughts. And there is a little bit of money set aside, about $30,000 set aside for an elevator. Getting that building ADA acceptable is not that hard a challenge because it's ground level pretty much. But getting up to the second floor, we were thinking more of using it for a gathering place for events. For instance, the other day when bingo got canceled at the senior center, we really had nowhere to go. It would have been great to have that upstairs facility ready to go, for the anything. Partner with the school system for certain events. Um, it is a key. It is a key for us to try to get that building back thriving again.
Awesome. Well, we love to hear that. And I know that Madison County's got their eye on it. So
Oh yeah.
more to come on that. All right. So we know that everyone joined together a few years ago. We had community stakeholders and our local leaders all joined together to develop the comprehensive plan.
Yes.
And can you just kind of speak to where are we on the comprehensive plan and just sort of share, some feedback with us about where we are on that?
This is a pretty exciting part. So the comprehensive plan was laid out with about 100 bullet points of things to achieve. And we felt like it would take us about 5 years to be able to reach 50%. And we're actually at 55%
Wow.
just 2.5 years in. So that a lot of those bullet points has been checked off. It was not just a comprehensive plan for residential and commercial growth and things like that. There was a lot of things spelled out in there that we need to touch base on. And Christina Baxter, my clerk, has worked really diligently to keep us on track, make sure that the funding's there, and to make sure that we don't just start them, but we complete them And very fortunate to say we're about 55% of that list done. And I would like to think that we can complete that in the first 5 years. I think that may be a stretch uh, financially, but we'll definitely meet our goal in our 10-year plan.
All right, now let's talk about how the county is approaching the management of both residential and commercial growth. It's something that everyone's talking about. We
Yep.
see all of this growth and increase in the Athens Tech area that's coming this way. So far not really spilling over into Madison County yet, but it's coming. It
Yes.
seems.
The comprehensive plan done a really good job of pointing out the areas for growth. In about a 3 mile radius of Clark County and about another 2 mile radius of Jackson County, which Jackson County is one of the fastest growing counties in the state, you're going to get spillover from it. Clark County, they've realized that Clark County has flipped from an east and west Athens to now a north and south. You have the Oconee connector on the south side. We're just happen to be on the north side of Kroger. So that growth is coming from the commercial side, business side, and even industrial side. Some of the business we've got recently is relocating from Athens. And it's not that Athens is a bad place, it's just the county, Clark County needs more housing for students, so the businesses are opting out because of the congestion in the road systems. So we've been very fortunate to capitalize on a few of those lately. We just toured a new grand opening the other day at US Formliners up here on Highway 98. Pretty excited about that one as well.
And that's in Madico West.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Madico West. Actually, I got to get a sign up there. But we had a meeting this morning about development on the backside of that property. So managing that growth we're seeing a lot more faster than we thought we would see it as far as the commercial industrial side. There's a lot of things in the background that I really can't announce yet because I haven't seen it in writing. I've just had a bunch of verbals, but I'm still expected to see some offsets from that commercial. The residential overspill is really not that it is not as much as people seem to think it is. So in 2025, we didn't issue but 199 certificate of occupancies in this county. So that was 199 homes built in Madison County. Our graduation rate's about 350, 400. So you really start getting a little quivery in the stomach when you're seeing 400 plus, because if you have half as many homes built as you're graduating, that tells us that the kids are potentially moving away, in which we don't want. We want them to be able to come back home. And a lot of those, when I say 199 building permits, the county does a lot of the permitting for the cities. So that in that 199, you will see those new apartments in Danielsville. You'll see the new housing developments in Comer. You'll see some of the subdivisions around Colbert. All those equate to that 199. So actually, Madison County itself, in the unincorporated area, the rural area, is really not growing that fast.
Not at the pace, certainly not at the pace that it was back in, say, 21, 22,
Correct.
23. Yes.
Correct. And a lot of that's controlled by infrastructure. Mm-hmm. The more infrastructure you got in the ground, that's how you control growth, is infrastructure. You put the infrastructure in and they will come. Mm-hmm. Build it and they'll come. So strategically putting infrastructure where we need, we are aimed more towards the infrastructure of commercial than residential.
Now, are we prepared, Madison County, are we prepared to financially for the installation of additional commercial grade infrastructure?
We are in a really strong position, and our leverage has been grants. I know Ms. Baxter spoke about it at the state of the county, and I think $35 million in 5 years in grants. I mean, that is strong. We've got a great partnership with Northeast Georgia Regional Commission to where when a grant comes available, they literally call me and say, Todd, look at this one, can you use it? And I would say 98% of the time we get those grants. We've not lost a grant that I can recall in the past 4 years.
That's incredible.
So we've been very fortunate to be able to partner with those. We just got another $2 million the other day for a sewer expansion. So we're pretty excited about being able to leverage those grants, but in order to leverage them, you have to have matching funds. And luckily, and I said it this morning, one of the proud moment for me in this county should be that we actually now produce more water than we buy. It's the first time in history that that's ever happened in this county that I know of. So knowing that our water department is going in the right direction and is becoming to the point to where it can finance itself and or future projects is a good thing. No more having to pass that to taxpayers. It's more of a user cost and the user cost. So we're actually, I have a meeting in the morning to talk about potentially getting water. Elbert County needs to get rid of more water because of their withdrawal permits. So we're potentially going to send that through to some other counties, which we will be able to collect transfer fees on, which will only benefit our infrastructure again.
What do you see as the most pressing needs in our community right now? Is it roads, public safety, growth management? What does it look like, and how do you plan to address those in the coming year?
So we're doing a good job on roads already. You'll hear some people that don't necessarily like the techniques we're using now compared to the way we used to do it. But we went from paving about 3.5 to 4 miles a year to paving 18 miles a year for roughly the same money, and also by getting grants, and a lot of them. We were very fortunate this year to get more grants than many counties because a lot of counties didn't put in for them. We put in for every nickel available, and which has allowed us to do those. Our senior center, you go from 30 plus members to 147 members. Really shows that we made a buy-in at the senior center. We started spending money. We want our seniors active, because if you keep your seniors active, we know, as the public would also know, the more they're active, the longer they're with us, and the happier they are. And we love it. You named one more in that.
I said
Road, senior center.
Public safety, growth management.
Public safety, yeah. So public safety is always going to be an issue because of the world we live in 2026. The national media has really crippled all emergency services, public services. Nobody wants to be police officers no more. It's not a Madison County problem. It's a state problem. It's a United States problem. And it's really not about what you pay them. The graduating classes are not there like they used to be. So we're all, this small niche of counties around us is basically fighting for the same people. On the EMS side, we're pretty fortunate. On the sheriff's office side, we have openings, but they all do. There's not a sheriff's office in Georgia, I think, that's full. And I don't think they will ever be full again. I think we're going to have to learn how to do more with less. It's sad, but it wasn't created locally. We're just following the repercussions of it.
Yeah.
You factor in what you see on your nightly news. You take a guy that's new out of the academy and makes $50,000 a year or $55,000 a year, married with 2 kids. The potential of somebody's homemade video clip, not the whole scenario of what happened, but the clip can ruin that man's life. Or it could put him on trial to where he could potentially lose his wife and kids over $55,000. I'm not signing my wife and kids up for that. I'm sorry. And I appreciate the ones that do it, because I think we do live in a county that's got a little more common sense than some of the other counties do. Again, one more aspect of why to live here. Look at our 911 calls. They're nowhere near counties around us. Our EMS calls. I think we run about 4,800 EMS calls last year. Wasn't but about 1,000 of them emergencies, but it's still a lot less than everywhere else. But to know that 1,000 emergencies, the people that showed up, you're probably going to live because of it, because of the professionals that we do have. That's a good step.
Yeah. In the light of recent legislative decisions related to property taxes across the state, how is the county evaluating its approach to moving forward as those changes seem inevitable?
I'll tell you, this is probably, I've lost more sleep over this topic that we have nothing to do with. This is state-led, state-organized. state created. I personally think it was one of the worst legislative sessions that I can recall in my lifetime, with things that matter that didn't get passed and things that not necessarily didn't matter, did get passed. But this particular one tried to say that one shoe fits all. Madison County was third, would have been, when House Bill 1116 come out, the initial topic of property tax, we would have been the third hardest hit county in Georgia, with over a $6 million cut to our budget. Now, they said, well, we'll let you get another penny sales tax. But a penny don't bring in that much. It was going to take, for us, it was going to take 3 pennies to break even to the 2024 numbers that the state was using. And then they went as far as to cap the inflation rate at 3%. But our insurance premiums this year that came in last Thursday, is a 24% increase. Our power bill increased just like homeowners, 22% in 2.5 years. 3% cap don't hold. So we're now still trying to do the math, and we're a little bit scared to do it early because it still may change again, because there's still summaries that's coming. And I don't want people to take this wrong, because I don't like property tax neither. I complain every year about paying it, but I know where it goes and why it goes, so it sits better. But until we see the final version, we don't know what to calculate and how hard it's going to hit us. People that opted into the 581, when people in this county voted unanimously for it and the Board of Commissioners went against it because we knew it was a bad deal, well, it turns out it was a bad deal. And if you opted in, now you got more problems because it's done away with now. 581 has been done away with now, and so people that opted into a floss tax has now got to try to figure out how to get it from a floss to an LHOS tax. So it's not common that the Board of Commissioners will go against the will of the people, but the will of the people at the time when they voted, they didn't know what they were voting for, because we did not. We didn't even have all the information, so we knew the public was misled by the state. Well, with these coming cuts, and we do think that's going to be around $2.5 million. Problem is, the county don't have $2.5 million each year left over out of the budget. We don't have nowhere close to that. I'm lucky to have $300,000 and in a rainy day fund left over in each year's budget. And normally we don't even carry that over, just because something always comes up. You know, we have officers that hits deers, we have ambulances that hits deers, you know, you have unforeseen increases in insurance mid-year after the budget's set. You always have to have some cushion. And I'm scared to death what the state's going to do. To me, I think it's government overreach. The state got out of the property tax business back in 2016 because they didn't understand it, and they should have stayed out of it now, in my opinion. It's only my opinion. Now, I'm thankful for my representatives, but I understand that under the Gold Dome, I feel like sometimes certain people tie our local legislators' hands, and they have to vote for things that's not so favorable to vote for. You know, me and Rob Leverett's great friends, me and Alan Powell's great friends, and to hear them talk, they knew it was not good. And to know that a bill was amended 4 times on a Saturday with no county chairman, no county manager, no mayor, no council member, no commissioners, seeing the bill that you guys under the roof is changing on our behalf without letting us know it, and just telling you, here's the end result, figure it out. Come on now. It's going to be tough for us to do. So I look for this to be very complicated over the next several years. I do think there will be some reductions, which we just done something this year that did get through session. I told you there were some things that come through session well. The $75,000 for seniors is going to be, that's the first time ever. Again, sat down with Jody Goodrow, Dr. Goodrow, and explained. He asked me when he first got here, he says, what would you like to see from a county's perspective? I said, man, if we could help out on school taxes, it'd be a lot. And he said, let's work on that. And we did. and it got it done. And kudos to their Board of Education, again, for working hard to get that done. Well, that went through. And that's going to save 1,300 and something people that won't ever pay school tax again. 1,300 families. That's a lot. Those are the people that need it. So kudos to them. But that was one thing we got through session. So there's pluses. It ain't all negatives. I know I sound negative because what happens when people don't understand when property tax goes away or property tax reduces, services have to reduce. And you spoke to Dr. Goodrow. You know, from a county side, we were looking at what's the most important. What can we cut? Well, we can cut the library. Well, we can cut 4-H, or we can cut UGA extension services. We can close the rec department. We can probably cut back on staff at the EMS. Now, how many of those is going to be popular? But those is the only things that's really not state mandated. So when you bring in $12.9 million on property tax each year, but your state mandates is $11.3 million, there's not no money to cut. So, and to be honest, when I hear people say, you know, I pay taxes for you to fix my road, we don't use taxpayer dollars to fix roads. We just don't. I let them believe that, but that's not really how it works. Now, we do use taxpayer dollars to fund the road department, but not to fix roads. It's for everything else. That includes grass cutting, automobiles, sheriff's cars, repairs, you name it, oil changes, gas, fuel. It's a pretty complex piece of pie, but we'll figure it out. I mean, again, we got a good team, and I hope we don't have to cut nothing. I just hope the overall public knows that the county didn't do this when it comes time to make those cuts, unfortunately. I wish we could have been a better partner to the state, but they didn't want our help.
As Madison County continues to grow, some have observed that development pressure is occurring more in rural areas than within the incorporated cities. What opportunities do you see for strengthening infrastructure in our cities and are there potential partnerships with state or other agencies to support that growth while also preserving farmland? That is a lot to balance, it seems. So,
yeah, it's really not that bad though. And again, because we got a good relationship with the mayors, we can make those things happen. We are currently doing some of those. There's talks now. You've seen about like a water tower issue in the paper. That not only is to generate we'll use the water tower for instance, only to help Danielsville for capacity, it also helps the county for capacity as well, volume. We have a new water line extension, which was a federal program that we got a grant for. It'll not only run a water line for us down 72, but it'll also be redundancy for the city of Comer and the growth of Comer. So we do try to take things into perspective of making sure all the key players is in the loop. I don't think we're seeing as much rural growth. Again, going back to earlier, the 199 permits in the county, and probably 40% of those happen in the city. So I don't think we're busting it. It seems like when you see them centralized, when you see like Scout Hut Road, when they name them all on the same road, and they say, well, there's 40 new houses on that road. What about all the rest of the roads? Well, yeah, that may be the 40 within a 6-mile radius that happened like that, or a 9-mile radius that happened like that. But I think we do a really good job at it. Are we, Jackson County, are we seeing a triple-digit number for census? No. I think if you pulled our census numbers today, we'd be somewhere close to around 34,000, and which is a 4,000 increase. No. What is it? What was we 20, 29, 30, 30,000? Yeah, 30,128 was our 2020 census. So 34,000 is really not unheard of at this point, even though I think we're on the low spectrum of it. I don't think we'll reach 40,000 in 10 years, which is a 10-year increasement, even though the rest of Georgia is. But you've got a lot of rural counties in Georgia that stayed so rural, and I don't mean this to be negative when I say stagnant, but they actually have lost population because they wasn't willing to grow. And so the towns are drying up. And the jobs wasn't there to sustain them because they didn't let those industries in. So it's a double-edged sword. You got to play it, and I think our comprehensive plan spells it out pretty good. South of 98, you got one territory. North of 98, you got another. And I think that was done, based off of looking at where the larger farmland is. Not saying that there's no farms that way, because there are. They're just not as many and as large as what's on this side of it. And I think by having that line drawn in the comprehensive plan and basically in the sand for the Board of Commissioners, they know where to put that. It's a good tool. Comprehensive plans are amazing, if you stick to them.
Mm-hmm.
That's the biggest thing.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to get one and then do just the opposite.
Yeah. Is there a local or a nearby community in Georgia or in anywhere around that you can think of that comes to mind when you think, I would like for Madison County to be sort of on that same trajectory as any neighboring community that you can think of? And we are our own
We are.
thing, and we're special and wonderful and unique. But is there a community or a county that has done growth very well that you can look at it and say they were patient, they were thoughtful, they were, checked all the boxes to make sure that the way they sort of, landed after the growth came?
Yeah. So I'll get pushback from this. I know I will.
Okay.
But that's okay. I think Oconee County done a great job. Now, am I saying I want to be Oconee County? No, not at all. But if you look at the time period of 50 years where Oconee County was and where Oconee County is, and if you look at Oconee County from 30,000 feet, Oconee County is not just a bunch of subdivisions. Oconee County is 2/3 rural agricultural. There's only about that 1/3 that's highly density. But that high density area is what brought those other businesses to Oconee Connector. So you can make it work. And now I've seen signs over the past 4 or 5 years that says, don't Gwinnett our Oconee. Depends on where you live. You sort of set yourself up for that by the way that comprehensive plan was done. Do I want to see us, now my dear friends, Oglethorpe County, do I want to see us that rural? Well, that's great until I want something to eat. If I'm looking to land a Publix and Aldi's or a Kroger's or something like that, people's got to understand it takes rooftops to do that. But yet, they need to be in a certain area. So you can stand on your front porch and see the stars without light pollution or whatever else. And that's what makes us unique, because we have that both. And if we stay with our comp plan and we keep that frame of mind, I think we'll be able to achieve that for the next 20 years. I really do. Now, is there going to be some congestion in the whole area? We have a seat open for the Board of Commissioners this year, and I think Shannon Kane and Ms. Teresa Bettis is running for that position. That's going to be the hardest seat in the county to sit in, because the comprehensive plan deemed that to be high density, deemed that to be commercial and industrial. So they're gonna, that's a hard seat. Really, they're gonna catch a lot. So you got to be really strong about that. But we as commissioners have to look at it from 30,000 feet. So is there anywhere I would compare us to? Not right offhand, because 6 cities don't give us a Watkinsville, or 6 cities don't give us Cornelia. Interstates don't give us, those areas like Livonia. There's a lot of counties similar to us, but none to be exact. And I like us the way we are. But we have to know that just like the cost projected index, we're going to grow. We just got to do it wisely.
Yeah,
we need to grow in the chicken industry. We need to grow in the farming industry, but we also got to grow in the business industry to survive. It takes a multi-use mix.
That's right. That's right. They're balanced. It really is all about balance.
And I think the future Board of Commissioners will understand that, the same as the Chamber understands it, the IDBA understands it. I think the right people's at the table all the way around this county. I really do.
Yeah. So, can you share an update on the county's search for an economic development director?
Yes. So we spent about 8 or 9 months, had one picked out, agreed to hire, and then there was some issues with his current job and retirements, and it all fell apart after about 9 months. So we are in talks now with another economic developer, and believe it or not, insurance is a rather complex situation. Having fun because economic developers normally works through IDBA. IDBA don't really have insurance because they don't really have that many employees or no employees technically. We create a lot of our own problems, even though I think we have one. We just got to work out some of the fine points, I guess you could say. Pay is not the issue. A lot of times it's, in order to get an economic developer, you got to get somebody that, you don't want one that's unemployed. So you're taking one from somewhere that is. So you've got to make sure that that's lucrative enough in some fashion, whether it be, benefits and or salary and or time. I can't wait till they get here because right now I'm the economic developer and I don't have time. Even though it's working, it's very stressful. And you know this, wearing multi hats. But when you're in a rural community, you're going to wear multi hats. And I'd like to say that we're coming near the closing of hiring an economic developer, is what I'd like to say.
Well, Todd, thank you so much for spending time with us. We've covered most of what was on our list. I know I've already taken up quite a bit of your time, and we just appreciate you. Is there anything else that you want to share with us while we have just another minute or two to capture anything? Or
yes, I do.
Absolutely.
I want to say thank you. Thank you to the chamber for all their hard work. Thank you to the Board of Education. It's opened up opportunities to expand our chamber, having those extra facilities to be able to host large events. The state of the county pulling that off with a record crowd, and that was a big facility, and still had that many people, looking at it from across the room.
Yes, sir.
To think what it would have looked like without the facility in the little room.
Yes, sir.
So kudos to you guys for doing that.
Thank you.
Again, that is one of the reasons this county is so special, because everybody knows everybody, and everybody tends to back everybody and help. Look at the volunteers that turn out to put that event on. That's something the chamber couldn't have done by themselves. There's
Certainly
not enough
not.
man hours in the day to do it. But having to be able to call on the cattlemen and be able to call on the ag community as far as the school system goes and the staff, Cindy and that whole group, we are so fortunate.
Yeah,
And
the Ag Center is a tremendous asset. It really is unbelievable. I went in there earlier today. They had hosted prom over the weekend, and I went in this morning for the call to prayer. And oh my, it did not look like an ag facility in there, because the way they had it decorated for prom was unbelievable. So being able to have prom on Madison County school grounds is,
I'm pretty excited about that.
yeah, it's really kind of unbelievable.
I'm pretty excited about that. When Dr.
Mhm.
Goodrow shared that information with me several months ago, probably before it went public, I was like,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
good job.
Yeah, kids
But-
aren't having to drive to Athens, and that kind of, it's heartwarming to see those things being able to take place in Madison County.
The more we can stay in-house, the better off we are.
Yeah.
And the more control we have over our children and oversight of those events, because they're locally, not in another city, not in another county. It just speaks volumes to the progression that this county's making in the right direction.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, thank you to you and your staff. I really enjoyed this. I would like to do it any particular time, any particular topic, because my job here that I can't do well enough is get the information out. When my Board of Commissioners meetings, I get the chairman's report, and I can't go into a lot of details on a lot of things. But again, I offer the public, my door is always an open door policy. Only thing I ask is if you'll call to make sure I'm not in a meeting. But other than that, come on. Every citizen of this county buys a tag at some point. Make sure you come by, stick your head in the door and say, hey, just so I can put a face with a name, you know, with those phone calls. But know that, you know, we don't do this. I like to say this every time. I don't do this for votes. It's not why I'm here. I'm here because this is what I'm driven to do to try to help. I'm not a politician. I feel like I'm a steward of my community. Do I have flaws? Absolutely. But do I have the right heart for it? I think my whole team does, because nobody would be here for what we make, just to be honest. I mean, you got to want to do this. But
Well,
thanks.
thank you, Todd. We appreciate you.
Absolutely.